Welcome aboard the BMW M1, part of the DRM Revival 2.0B mod. Figured I'd try something different this time, sort of along the lines of a mod review, although I don't intend to do the whole mod. I'm just going to focus on this car. I've never driven this car before. In fact, I've never driven any of the cars from this mod before. This mod's been one of the most popular ones that I've seen released for rFactor. However, I've never tried it. So I'm finally going to see what all the fuss is about. Just trying to show you some of the interior modeling on this car. Just been looking around before I started to record the video. It's just impressive all the way around. You even see inside the engine bay, there's that BMW 6-cylinder engine. Turbocharged, of course. Looks like there are two of them. Yep. See the gearbox. Great job modeling inside and out. Back in the cockpit. Look at all that intricate detail with all the ductwork and linkages, wiring for gauges. The structure of the door panel, the strap to the cable to pull to open the door. They've really thought of everything. The dashboard, the steering wheel. Everything just looks so cool. Like I said, I've never driven this car before, so I have no idea of its performance potential. I know it's got a 3.2 liter straight six twin turbo, so hopefully it'll give me a nice little kick in the pants to get it started. We're at Imola, the 1990 configuration of Imola. So unfortunately this track is no longer with us, but hopefully it'll give us a decent idea of what the car's capable of. I picked the track because I know it very well, and it's also one of my favorites, so hopefully I won't make myself look like too much of a fool. Just hopefully I can give you an idea of what to expect from, at very least, this car in the DRM 2.0B mod, if you haven't already tried it, unlike me, who's been an absolute inept video gamer, because this mod's been out for a little while. So without further ado, let's get this thing out on track and see how it goes. First of all, I just want to see how many gears do I have? 5. I suppose I should also probably tell you that I'm using a Logitech G27 wheel with the 6-speed stick. The car's starting to roll a little. And of course the clutch, brake, and gas pedals, so hopefully I'll be able to give you some decent feedback in terms of how the car actually feels. First gear. Turbocharged car, remember, I gotta remember I don't want to stall it. Coming into the pits, there we go. Well, we're on the racetrack now, and 42 miles an hour in second gear. You can start to hear the turbo starting to spool up a little bit behind me. Oh yes, definitely. The sounds are very in-depth, my first reaction to the car. Very detailed sounds. I can hear multiple things going on behind me. You can hear the engine, the turbos. When I change gear, I hear the gearbox clunking around to find the next gear. And you get the blow-off valves on the turbos, the wastegates. Oh, that's nice. That's really nice. Turn-in feels good. See if we can find where that turbo starts to kick in. I hear it spooling up, and here comes the power. So about 45 to 4,800 revs is where I gotta start being careful. Up until that point, the thing's pretty docile, I would assume. That double clutch sounds really cool. Fortunately, we can't really do it at high speeds. At least I don't think so. Comes the turbo. Oh, this thing's gonna be... Oh, this is gonna be really cool. Once I have the courage to bring this thing up to speed a bit. How are the tires looking? Gotta get some heating the tires still. Do a bit of weaving. Oh, the steering's so responsive. The feedback the car gives me is great. So you get some heat in the fronts. Do a bit of weaving this way for the corners. Yeah. More concerned about the rears because I'm sure you guys who've driven turbocharged cars before will certainly know that you can really light up the rears in a hurry if you're not too careful. Cuarto now onto the start-finish straight. Let's give it some beans. Oh, yes, that's taken off. 150 miles an hour. I'm not brave enough to stay on it deep into Tamburello yet. Staying in 5th gear. 7,000 revs. 160, 70 miles an hour before we gotta start coming on those brakes. Tosa. Oh, the brakes are pretty good in this thing, as are the tires. Let's see. When's that turbo coming in? Over the bump, yes! Oh, those sounds are amazing. Yeah, I'm not quite feeling brave enough to try and stay flat after Piratella yet. Coming up the hill. Rear starts to get a bit squirrely there. Like I said, those rear tires aren't there yet. Variante Alta being careful here. Trying to watch the curves. 2nd gear, here comes the turbo. No wheel spin. There was there. Down to Rivazza. Oh, that thing tucks in a dream. Watch this. Oh, that's great. I'm already starting to feel confident in here. Try 3rd gear, let's get on the power early. Oh, look at that. It'll power oversteer for you all day long, apparently.
All right.
That's all the revs.
158.20.
Gonna pick up some grass. Guess we gotta be more careful next time through Tamburello. Trying to get most of the braking done before we get into the final bit of the straight for Tosa. Let's try this. Again, that bump over the hill, it's going to be a bit difficult to control. And the Piratella. Wow. Not sure how to characterize the car yet. Is it forgiving? Is it trying to kill you in every corner? Kind of feels a bit of both at the moment. Like right through here, I can get on the power and I can easily recover that slide. But when I get on the power too much, especially if I'm cresting a hill, it seems like the thing wants to kill me. Rivazza again, watch the curves, let it go wider, tuck it back in, on the power. Hard on the brakes. Recuerdo. Again, look at that. Try 2nd gear through here, let's get on the power. Bit of a slide. No problem to recover the oversteer though.
That was a 148.97.
Let's be more careful through here. There we go. Seems to want to oversteer a little bit at high speeds. It's not entirely in sync with itself. Almost feels like the front's turning a little bit before the rear in some cases. Oh, but those sounds are just amazing. Wow! Oh, this thing is fun. It's egging me on now. I'm starting to go for it a bit. Look at that. I slid it all the way through Aquameter out of there. Oh, okay. Maybe I should calm down. It's easy to recover oversteer in this car. But the thing is, you can see if you come in a little bit too fast into a corner, it will understeer, like any other car, of course. I say power oversteer is easier to recover from than just general oversteer. Watch this, I'll do some here. There it is, see? Bit of opposite lock, and the car's recovered. Same there.
Alright, that was a 140.
And I am able to just lift on the upshifts, apparently. Just through the high-speed corners like Tamburello, the car feels a little bit out of sync with itself. The front turns a little bit sooner than the rear, or at least it seems to me. Snap off under braking there. Let's try to lay on it. Carrying a bit more speed now. Be careful still because the car still gets unsettled over the bumps. Swinging Aqua Minerale. Actually, you Italian speakers, feel free to correct me. I don't remember the name of the corner. Ends in an E or an I. Oh, that's incredible. This is one of the greatest mods ever. I'm gonna say it. It is. The first time I've ever driven it. It's the only car I've ever driven out of the mod. Whoa. But if I can have moments like that and keep going, it makes you look like a hero, even though you're really not, like in my case. But if I can come out of the corner sideways and still nail it down the straight, that's a winner in my book.
48.7.
Straight number in fourth. Get more power in the top end, of course. Maybe a little bit less mid-corner speed. 177 miles an hour. You really do have to jam on the brakes there, and then come off them again for the kink before Tosa. Clutching on the 2-3 upshift, but for all the other ones I'm just lifting the throttle. Car seems happy that way. Whoa. Well, I got it a bit unsettled over the curves there, and that's what happens. If I manage to keep the engine running, that keeps me happy. Suspension's very compliant. It's just soft enough to where you can anticipate how the car is going to react when it bounds off the bump, so the rebound is predictable. But it's not so hard that it's going to snap away from you. nor is it too soft that the car feels like it's just rolling around all the time. I should say this is the default setup. The only thing I've changed is that I've turned the engine braking to 0. The engine's very tractable, very compliant. Doesn't feel like a lot of the other turbocharged engines I've driven in open wheelers, for example, where they're more explosive with how they develop the power.
All right, that was a 2:15.37.
This one's very tractable, very predictable. The steering is great. Obviously, I've got force feedback enabled. I've got the, there are 4 settings. There's something like easy, moderate, and strong. And then, of course, there's real feel. I don't have the real feel plugin enabled, but I do have force feedback, and I've got it on the strong setting. So I suppose setting 3 out of 4. And it feels very positive. I get great feedback. Car feels good. I can feel the tires chattering through the corners. They definitely put a lot of thought into this one. But I mean, those sounds are something else. I'm gonna get out of Aqua Minerale. I'm gonna play on it a bit. Just listen to this. That's great. That really is great. I remember, let's quiet it up a little bit. I started to get into racing games, and then later on sim racing, by playing Gran Turismo 2 on the PlayStation. And I first started playing that game in 1999, I remember it was. And whenever you would drive a turbocharged car, the sound effects were just so, nowadays, primitive. But back then it just sounded like so much power. The turbo sound itself, the sound of the turbo spooling up, was so exaggerated. It was the only thing that you would hear sometimes. You wouldn't hear the engine anymore, you'd just hear the turbo. And then when you would lift off or downshift, you'd hear the blow-off valve going. Like, you'd hear that noise so much in the game. And it's just reminding me of that. You know, the first days that I ever got into any sort of racing sims of any kind. There's a bit of a connection there with me. I like that. Thinking of the Toyota Supra RZ from that game. It sounds a bit like that. 39.91. Not quite triple digits, but yeah, the understeer just catches me out. While they're there over the curves, it might look all very chaotic, but the car is actually very compliant. I mean, there's a lot of steering wheel movement going on through there, but actually quite predictable. Feedback I get through the steering feels great. The brakes are very good. You can see I'm relying on the engine brake effect or the gearbox to slow me down more than I am relying on the brakes themselves. But still, brakes are very positive. I did lock them up there. So I mean, there's not a whole lot of aero on this car, at least in the high speed stuff there's aero, but at the slower speeds not so much. So you can lock the wheels up if you're not careful on the brakes. say the good thing for me about this car. Number one, how compliant it is. It doesn't feel like some sort of wild beast at all. Except right here. That's what I get for not paying attention. Generally, it's very compliant. But you can still get the tail out like that, which I'm sure looks very impressive. Let's try one real good lap, and then I think we're gonna call it a day here. Down into the Rivazza corners. Not quite sure if the Rivazza corners are a pair of corners or just one long corner. It really is like a double apex left-hander. And then, of course, I don't know if this part is called Traguardo, but I know that the final chicane was. It's no longer there on the current configuration, I believe. Let's try this. Flat out.
That was a 155.66.
I'm not going to do Cambarello flat, because the car can't do it, obviously. Okay, the next lap will be the flat out one. Not quite sure why that happened there. Watching all the gauges on the dash, they work. At least they seem to. Not sure about that fuel gauge, but it's like all the rest of them do. The tack and the boost gauge obviously work. Boost gauge is not readable, however. I'm overcooking it a lot here. I've got to be careful. Alright, I'm going to shut up now and just do a decent lap for you guys, because I'm not paying that much attention to the driving. You'll hear from me once I cross the start-finish line. On the next lap, of course. Because we're starting to run out of fuel anyway.
That was a 149.49.
pretty good. A few mistakes through the lap, including the last corner. Just had to pick up some grass, of course. But decent representation of, if not what the car is capable of, at least what I'm capable of at this moment. This is one of those cars that really does feel like it's pushing you, it's egging you on. It wants you to push it harder and brake later and turn in faster and try to steal a little bit more curb on the apex. And then when we're cruising around like this, it's very soft, very compliant. See the skid marks where I had my big spin. That won't be fondly remembered, but it will be immortalized. Blasted down to Rivazza. I'll never get tired of that noise. This is going to be a good one. Never raced these cars. You know, like I said, this is the first time I've ever driven one. This is really cool. I like this one. I like this one a lot. Switch the engine off. I'll just come in here. That's really amazing. I have to say, this car surprised me a lot. I didn't think that it would be that entertaining to drive. I didn't think that it would be that dynamic to drive. I figured it would be like an old car, to be honest with you. Even the open wheelers from that era are a bit floaty, and they're not as precise, and they kind of sort of drive themselves in some ways, but there's no doubt in terms of who's in control of this car. This is a real driver's car. And I think I'm going to have a lot of fun with this. I hope I was able to shed some light on some of the finer details of this car and this mod, although it's hardly a comprehensive review of the mod in total. But certainly I hope that this was at least entertaining, and again, a little bit of a change of pace for me. So thanks for watching.